Hi friends, we're here again today to talk about the passive voice again. The passive voice is the counter tense to the active voice. So we can take sentences that are in the active voice and convert them into the passive voice, and obviously vice versa. So there are 12 tenses in the English language. They are grouped by simple tenses, continuous or progressive tenses, perfect tenses, perfect simple tenses rather, and perfect continuous or perfect progressive tenses. So taking the first type of tense, the simple tense, we're going to look at some active to passive transformations. Looking at the present simple, before that, how is the passive formed from the active? Well, in an active sentence, you have the subject doing the verb, most likely to an object. But it's not always necessary to have an object. For example, the sentence, Jessica walks, that's a sentence. It's a subject doing a verb. She can walk on the road, but we're not for these purposes. Okay. So in an active sentence, when we look at the present simple, let's take a look at one example that I really like, to do with languages. In an active sentence, we could say, for example, if you answer the question, what language is spoken in England? English, right? So you can generalize and say, everyone speaks English in England. Now, when we change it to the passive form, what we have to do is look at the tense of the verb, of the main verb in the active sentence, which in this case is speaks. Then we take the passive is a combination, it's a complex verb of the verb to be in the tense of the original verb from the active sentence, plus the past participle of the original verb that was in the active sentence. So, our sentence that reads, everyone speaks English in England, in the passive, it would turn into, English is spoken in England. You can see in parentheses it says by everyone. It's in parentheses because it's not necessary. It's generalized and obvious information, and so we can leave it out of the sentence because that's the real key to why we have the passive. We want to bring the most important information of a sentence into the subject position, into the first part of the sentence, because we want to draw more focus and more attention to that part of the sentence, okay? So we turn it into the passive because the object now carries the weight of the focus of the sentence. Okay, now let's talk about a past simple conversion. Firstly, we need to look at an active sentence. For the past simple, my example is, everyone spoke Latin in ancient Rome. Now, what is the tense? Remember, we have to take it apart into two pieces, the tense and the past participle of the main verb in the active sentence. The tense of the main verb in the active sentence is what? Past simple, right? Okay, so then we have to put to be into that tense. To be in the past tense is, was, or were. So we take our object from our active sentence, which is Latin. Latin is third person singular, and that agrees with was, and then we have to say plus the past participle of our original verb, spoken. Our new sentence reads in the passive, Latin was spoken in ancient Rome. Again, by everyone. Not necessary, that's why it's in parentheses. We don't need it there because it's understood that everybody spoke Latin in ancient Rome. Moving on to our next and final simple tense, we've got the future simple. The future simple, an example of the active sentence, could be, more people will use bicycles in the future. I hope so, because that would be a lot better for the environment and a lot better for our health. But that's just an aside. Now, taking that active sentence, let's identify the parts. The subject, people. Will use is our verb. Bicycles is our object. So in our passive sentence, bicycles now becomes our subject. So, In the future, I like to put my time reference before. In the future, more bicycles. Now I need to change. Will use, what is that tense? Future. I would need to put the future of the verb to be. What's the future of the verb to be? The future of the verb to be is will be. Alright, so we transform will to will be plus the main verb, which is use. What's the past participle of use? Used. So our new sentence changes a little bit because I've moved the time reference from the back to the front of the sentence. And our sentence reads, in the future, more bicycles will be used. Again, by everyone is in parentheses because it's generalized and obvious information. The agent is unknown and the agent is unimportant and obvious. Furthermore, this sentence, if you noticed, had another little transformation. Instead of saying, rather in the active sentence we said more people will use bicycles in the future, because we're drawing more attention to the word bicycles, that more is going to be attached to bicycles because we're removing people. Okay? So more people, more bicycles, that's sort of equal in both sentences. So we can switch it around to say, in the future, more bicycles will be used. Or if we want to keep the time reference in the same place, then we can say, more bicycles will be used in the future. Okay, so that does it for the simple tenses. Stay tuned for the continuous progressive, the perfect simples, and the perfect continuous progressives. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any other video. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me tonight, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.